Shalom. My name is Chimezie Okonkwo, and I'm a pastor by the grace of God, and I run a ministry in the UK, and we run a TV show as well titled "Let There Be Light." But I wasn't born in the UK. I was born in Nigeria. I came actually I was conceived in the United States when my parents were living in the United States, and then my mom gave birth to me in Nigeria, and then over the years I moved to the UK, and I moved to the UK. I came first of all. The first time I came to the UK, I came as a visitor, and then I came back as a student. And then when I came as a student, I was struggling to survive. Trying to make ends meet, money issues, housing issues, and all those stuff. I was going through. I had a season where I was going through a lot of pain. In fact, at one point, I had three jobs, trying to make ends meet, but it was like I had holes in my pocket. I had all these jobs. I would make the money, but I wouldn't see where the money was going to. So I was really frustrated. I wanted something extra, and then I got into crime. I started. I had some friends who were doing some fraud and different things, and I joined them, and I was trying to do fraud with them. Actually, we did a few things together that didn't work, and I never got a penny from them. I tried different things and they wouldn't work for me. I just knew. It was looking back now, I see that the Lord didn't want me to go that route, but because I went towards that direction, He still allowed His grace to protect me. I have friends that went to prison because of these crimes, but not for one day did the police knock on my door. And it was just the mercy of God. I'm telling you, it was just the mercy of God. Because even in the process, I was so faithful in church, still doing crime, but very faithful in church, very dedicated. I believed in God. I think the Lord saw my commitment to Him, or towards Him and towards His kingdom, and just had mercy on me, because I don't deserve to be speaking to you now, in the name of Jesus Christ. So I went through a lot of storms, and then actually one had almost backfired against us, and that one I was one that I involved my wife in, and my wife didn't know anything about it. I just tried to encourage her, let's do this and just get the money and pay my fees, because I needed to pay my fees. It was I was on a student visa at the time. I needed to renew my student visa. I was struggling to pay the fees and pay the visa renewal fees with the Home Office. So when I couldn't get the funds, I went into crime, and it almost backfired. And somehow the bank just dropped the case. We kept praying. I was so tensed up, and I said to the Lord, I said, Lord, if you drop this case, I wouldn't do this again. And I really meant it from my heart. And the Lord dropped the case. All of a sudden, the bank wrote us and said the case has been closed. And actually, they sent us a check for the inconveniences, which was a miracle. We just knew it was a miracle from God. And that was the last time. So we just came out from that phase. And then a friend of mine, I asked him for some money because I needed to pay my Home Office fees to renew my visa. My visa was almost expiring. And he said, if I come to his church, he's going to give me the money. It was just £100 I went to ask for. And I went. I met him at the tube station. He picked me up, took me to his church, and we walked into the church. We hadn't sat down yet. We were still starting. We just walked in, just getting ready to sit down. And the pastor, a lady, says, are you a pastor? And I said, no. Well, first of all, I was confused because I was looking at everybody around me, and she says, are you a pastor? You. I said, me? She said, yes. I said, no, I'm not. And she said, obey him, the kingdom will come on you. Make sure you write it down. And she said, go and write it down. And over the years, I had different pastors telling me the same thing. And then this lady coming out from a storm like that, that involved some fraud that would have landed me in prison. And the Lord saved me. And this lady said, and she's telling me that I have a call, the call of God, and the kingdom will call on me. And it wouldn't match when you are just coming out from a storm, and then they're telling you have the unction of the Lord on you. But then she said I should write it down, so I just wrote it down, believing God for the best for my life, whatever that meant. And in the process of time, I was still dedicated to God, going for church services. But one thing I did was making sure that I didn't go back to that lifestyle again. I didn't go back to crime again. I just started avoiding all the wrong friends I had. Actually, most of them ran away because we lost some money in the process of trying to get that money that time. So the Lord saved us from that headache. And then I was able to renew my student visa. And then after I renewed my student visa, I was able to get my residency in the UK. And then by the grace of God, the Lord pulled me through so much stuff. And He brought me to a place where I was able to trust in God, even with all the challenges I was having, in my personal life, with the relationships around me, and everything seemed not to be working. But then God just kept me moving, and I just believe God, and I kept studying my Bible, going to church, committed myself to the service of the Lord, and went through some storms. I had dreams where different pastors were laying hands on me, pouring oil on my head, and it still didn't make sense to me. So I'll tell my pastor at the time, and he wouldn't tell me, he wouldn't respond to it anyway. But over time, I went through a storm, and then I had the voice of the Lord. And He said I should go and start the ministry in the midst of a storm. And then He directed me to a church I've never been to before. I'd never went to before. And I went there with my first son, and the pastor, after the service, the pastor called me out and said, "Are you a minister of God?" I said, "No." On the same day, the Lord spoke to me to go and start the ministry. And He said, "The Spirit of the Lord said I should tell you that time. Well, He asked me, "Has anybody told you you have the call of God in your life?" And I said, "So many pastors." And He said, "Okay. The Spirit of the Lord said I should tell you that time is now." And that was the confirmation I needed for that. But still at that, I didn't have the courage to go and start the ministry. I thought, what do I know? What do I know in the Bible? Sometimes when you think you don't know, it is the God that sends you, He equips you with what you need to know. So when God sends you, you need to obey Him and go. And when you go, He's going to teach you. He's going to equip you. He's going to empower you. He will give you the power you need at every point to minister to people. And since we started the ministry, we've seen quite a number of breakthroughs from people testifying from our personal lives. In the midst of nothing, the Lord has been able to create amazing memories for us. In ministry, in our personal lives, by the grace of God, the ministry has taken us to places where I'm speaking right now from Iceland, and it was ministry that brought me here. If I didn't obey God, if I was looking at my situation, if I was looking at my past, a lot of people look at your past and say, "Oh, you don't qualify." I truly don't qualify, and that's why I call myself a foolish thing, because the Bible says that God uses the foolish things to confound the wise. And I call myself, I take pride in calling myself a foolish thing for Jesus Christ, by the grace of God, and He's brought me through. And if you're in that same place where I was, in the place of darkness and pain, I can tell you the Lord can bring you through. Believe in Him, study His word. His word is light, and His word is life. He says, "The Spirit, I've given you the Spirit," and He has given you the Spirit. And the words, when He says that He's spoken the words, John 6:63, He spoke the word, and He says, "The word I speak to you, they are spirit and they are life." Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, He will save you. He still saves and He still heals. I'm a testimony. That's why I'm sharing this message with you. God bless you, and He loves you. Shalom.